Captain's personal log, stardate 12117.4. While this new uniform fits better than the last, the sleeve length is still long, and I look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Computer, kindly order a uniform in the next size down. No more extra large. End log. Welcome. Again? To Best of Trek, Worst of Trek. I'm your host, Dustin Wing. Wasting our viewing time at number 626. Reed's being a pineapple. Or Silent Enemy. A random ship of unknown aliens keeps coming back and messing with Enterprise, giving them time to prepare for their eventual final encounter. The crew build phase cannons and hook them up in a way that they can blow up a mountain, which turns the tide in the last encounter. Meanwhile, the captain wants Chef to make Reed a special meal for his birthday and tasks Hoshi with figuring out what his favorite food is. In longtime Trek director Winrick Kolb's final show, this one just doesn't have a reason to be other than filling a weekly time slot. Being completely retconned at number 625. Trill soap opera. Or The Host. The first third of the runtime is Beverly in a soap opera-style romance with a Trill ambassador. When the host dies, she finds out the secret of the Trill and has to temporarily transfer the symbiont into Riker till a replacement can arrive. Will conducts the negotiations the ambassador was here for, and then has the symbiont removed to a new female Trill host. The end could have been a nice LGBT moment, but Bev seems reluctant. If they were going to change so much about the Trill when it came time for DS9, they should have just invented a whole new species, because they changed basically everything but the fact that there's a host and a symbiont, and mostly for the better. If you like daytime soap operas, you might like this one, but not the best episode of Star Trek. Still falling for the wrong woman at 624. Mr. Peanut, the Shape-Shifting Dog. Or Aquiel. The Enterprise investigates a subspace relay station where they find the remains of one of two crew members, a missing shuttle, and a dog. Geordi is in charge of the investigation, and the dog, and gets to know the missing Lieutenant Aquiel Unari, before the Klingons turn her over after finding her shuttle, and then things get awkward for Geordi. They then think she killed her superior and took off. Really, in the end, the dog turns out to be a shapeshifter that needs to absorb someone every so often, and was forced into Unari's dog. A pretty boringly passive episode about a woman not living up to Geordi's expectations. In Search of Energy at number 623. Coffee-flavored nebula. Or The Cloud. In search of new energy sources, Voyager detects Omicron particles in a nebula, and decide to go in to get this potent source of coffee. Very quickly it becomes clear that this isn't an ordinary nebula, and the ship ends up losing energy reserves. After tearing out of there, they discover the nebula is actually a huge life form, and they ripped a hole in it. In Starfleet fashion, they go in to repair the damage at the expense of even more of their energy reserves. There's a bunch of small plots going on throughout the episode, including Janeway foreshadowing her transformation into a lizard by seeing one as her spirit animal in a vision quest. Neelix is annoyed that Janeway is always exploring and getting them into trouble. Paris wakes Kim up in a really creepy way. We get the first use of Sandrine's pool hall, which was meant to be Voyager's version of the officer's poker game. We also get one of the greatest examples of writers writing themselves into a corner by saying the ship only has 38 photon torpedoes and no way to replace them. There's a bunch of plots here for so little actual substance. Definitely not taking hostages at number 622. Worf Makes Decisions, Part 1. Or Heart of Glory. An away team finds 3 Klingons on a quickly decaying freighter and beam them over. One of the Klingons dies soon after, and we get to see the Klingon eyes open screaming death ritual for the first time. While in detention awaiting Klingon extradition, they put a weapon together from their clothing and escape. While threatening to blow up the ship, the last Klingon tries to tempt Worf to join them, but Worf shows his loyalty to duty, bare minimum effort from the first episode to star Worf. If you do not like and subscribe, Control will gain the sphere data from Discovery and end all sentient life in the galaxy. Getting lost at number 621, All O'Briens Must Suffer, or Time's Orphan. We break up the ongoing Dominion War near the end of Season 6 to give O'Brien and family a picnic from hell. Molly cartwheels into a hidden cave with a time portal that takes her hundreds of years into the planet's past and then closes. O'Brien and team find a way to open it again and transport her out. Except they're 10 years off and they get a now adult-aged Molly O'Brien back that's raised herself on a planet for a decade. The rest of the episode is PTSD for everyone involved until adult Molly stabs someone at Quarks by accident, and rather than watch her be incarcerated, the O'Briens break her out of the holding cells and take her back to the time portal to send her back to her own time by herself, because it seems to be a better thing for her well-being. As an added bonus, though, they still miss the time going back, and older Molly creates a time loop by sending her younger self back through and erasing her own existence. Apparently, during the location picnic shot, the actors and children were actually in some danger as a rattlesnake was found moving towards the actors, and they quietly cut to let a ranger take care of it. Not remembering correctly at number 620. Not a Victim, or Retrospect. This one is another Tuvix level of Voyager taking an otherwise decent episode and then shoving our expectations out an airlock at the end. Voyager's testing out some new weapons from an arms merchant they might buy from when 7 of 9 freaks out on him and thinks she has repressed memories of this man attacking her to steal nanoprobes for sale. Voyager chases him to the point of the guy's ship blowing up before the end where they find evidence that he didn't attack her and Seven's Borg brain was putting together incorrect memories of random things from her past. This one went from a message of the victim is never believed to the victim made it up and it's no wonder they're never believed. And because set reuses, Captain Braxton's time ship seed is used another time. Being obliterated at number 619. Things Past, or All Our Yesterdays. This one has a solid premise, but suffers as badly as one might expect from the next to last episode of Season 3 TOS. The Enterprise is investigating a planet that used to have life, but now none is detected. They were going to warn the people at the very last moment that their star was about to go nova, only to find a man and his clones running a library. Kirk smacks around a bunch of copies of The Old Man before they learn the library has a device that sent the inhabitants back to different time periods in the planet's past. McCoy and Spock end up in an Ice Age cave with a beautiful woman, and Kirk ends up in a place going through their own Salem witch trials or Spanish Inquisition or something. Spock seems to be forming a genuine connection with the Ice Lady, but learns if they're here too long, they can never go back to the library and their ship. Just before the star goes boom, Kirk finds a way back and coaxes Spock and Bones back. The star going nova at the end is actually a really nice way to take it out, and you can almost look at this as the real final send-off of TOS. Losing its sense of self at number 618. Stages of Grief. Or The Loss. We open into Troy counseling an ensign who's lost her husband, and oh god, she's got a music box. This isn't gonna end well. When the Enterprise gets caught up in a swarm of two-dimensional beings, Deanna loses her empathic powers. She spends the rest of the episode being nasty to everyone that's trying to help her. Meanwhile, the 2D swarm is carrying the Enterprise into a cosmic string fragment where it will be destroyed before they break free, which also gets Troy her powers back. The producers toyed with the idea of making Deanna's loss permanent, which would have been just fine since she doesn't actually sense anything with them after Season 2. Another episode about the disabled where the message gets lost along the way. Being direct at number 617. Headstrong. Or Melora. A new ensign comes to the station to do a charting mission in the Gamma Quadrant. She's from a low-gravity planet and requires a wheelchair to get around in normal gravity. Unfortunately, Cardassian architecture has a raised edge at every doorway, making getting around the station difficult. The writers did get the part about people in wheelchairs not wanting to be treated differently right, but took it way too far in making Melora a displeasure to be around. Bashir comes up with a treatment for her that would allow her to walk in normal gravity, but would have the consequence of her not being able to return to her home planet in a low-gravity environment. And she discontinues the treatment by the end. The B-plot consists of a former business partner Quark once snitched on to save himself, getting out of prison and threatening to kill Quark despite his best efforts to make the situation better. In the end, the two plots come together when Quark's associate kills someone that Quark made a deal with, steals a runabout, and takes Dax and Melora hostage. They kill the gravity in the runabout, and Melora gets to prove how awesome having low gravity skills can be when she foils the bad guy's plot. Another episode where the message about disabilities goes south. Being not so subtle at 616. Imposing Will, Part 1. Or Violations. A group of telepathic historians is catching a ride home on the Enterprise when the youngest member violates Deanna's mind. For about the umpteenth time in Trek. He tries to blame his father, but Deanna learns the truth before the end. The episode itself uses the R word to describe what happens to Deanna, but I can't because YouTube. This is an episode of Trek that never needed to be, and the filming took place during Gene Roddenberry's memorial service. Closing out our block at number 615, Imposing Will, Part 2. Or Fusion. Enterprise encounters a curious group of Vulcans that smile and eat chicken. One introduces the act of a mind meld to T'Pol, but when she doesn't like it, he keeps going anyway. And then she keeps having this recurring memory of going to a jazz club when she was in San Francisco called Fusion, which seems to be an analogy for her disordered mind. Because jazz. The improper mind meld leaves T'Pol scarred, but at least Archer confronts her attacker and throws him off the ship. At least in this one, the victim is believed easily, and that's about all I can say positive about it.
Computer. That program is available.
Thanks, Majel. Majel. Thanks, Majel. Majel.
Affirmative.
Thanks, Majel.
Warning. Differential stress will exceed upper limit in 15 seconds.
Majel.
1535 hours.
Thanks, Majel.
Bridge evacuate immediately.
Thanks, Majel.
There are 22 non-medical agents.
Thanks, Majel.
Diagnostic cycle will be complete in 20 seconds.
Majel.
Logs accessed.
Thanks, Majel.
The logs have been deleted.
Majel.
Commander Morag is in his quarters.
Thanks, Majel.
Commander Riker is in his quarters.
Majel.